yet. They chose their king, their power was met, but we don't answer to Ottawa yet. No crown gave us what we've earned, just dirt and fire and lessons learned. Now the ground it shakes, the steel it groans, and Alberta walks alone. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free. From the rigs to the rails, the crops to the code, we lit their streets, we bore their load. They laughed at pride, they mocked the West, but freedom don't die, it just waits for the test. The cowboys ride, the farmers rise, 5 million strong under open skies. No leash, no lie, no foreign throne. This land is steel and it stands alone. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free. Can't kill the mountain, can't drown the plain, can't burn the spirit that won't be chained. He stares down east with a calloused hand.
Welcome. It's 7-Eleven. It's Daily Summary with Bruce Scholl, and I'm excited to be here. What an extraordinary time to be alive. You guys, we have one hell of a great show to bring you tonight. I am very excited about my next guest. He is new to Unscrew the News, and we'll get into it here in a minute. But I want to say thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to share this out. We need to get some more eyeballs on this information and wake up more people. So I appreciate you being here. Make sure to get this out and wake up some more of your friends and family. So share it out to your social media. We continue to get shadow banned from all the social media, but we need this information to get out. So God bless you all. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to get into it right away. We're going to unscrew some news together. And we are coming to you from the Alberta Independence Center. Here we are. It's, I wanted to say thank you again. Sorry about, I'm not your investment advisor, but I always want to tell you that in this time that we're living through, this is very personal to me, that you need to have silver and gold. So one of my favorite sponsors is nuggetstacker.com right here in Calgary. You can reach out to them. You can be anywhere in Canada. They will ship it to you. Go to nuggetstacker.com. You go right through my website at unscrewthenews.com and you'll get a bit of a discount. You can also give them a phone call at 1-866-644-2121. Any question is completely allowed. Great service. Give them a call, nuggetstacker.com. All right. Like I said, I'm going to break into this here right away, but I'm coming to you from the heart of the battle-ready nation of Alberta. We bring you truth and optimism. Our goal is to break free from the media, globalist mind control. It is November 20th, 2025. This is episode number 223 of John Macari, retired NYPD the Finest Unfiltered podcast. He's joining me. So thank you very much for joining me, sir. It is such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a little bit later for you, but you are this, from what I can tell, we just had a few minutes to talk, but from what I could see on your X profile and on your podcast, the Finest Unfiltered podcast, I saw another one of those warriors, and I wanted to reach out to you because I saw your comment on the. Okay, let me see if I can make sure I've got this right. Social workers responding to 911 calls in New York City versus police, and that's one of the reasons I reached out to you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
No, it's an honor to be here, Bruce. I appreciate you having me, and thank all your guests for coming on with us today as well.
All right, I'm just going to give a little bit more of a history of John, if I could. John Macari Jr., a retired NYPD lieutenant, hosts New York's Finest, the Retired and Unfiltered podcast, focusing on unvarnished discussions of NYC policing challenges, officer morale, and political impacts on public safety. His posts often dissect city council hearings, such as debates over CCRB access and to body-worn camera footage, revealing procedural tensions, advocacy for due process. Sir, it is such a pleasure. I watched a few episodes of your podcast, and I can see you guys are obviously going through some major dilemmas, I guess, in New York City. And one of the posts I put out today saying that you were going to come on is, what the heck is going on in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, look, New York City is a crazy place, I mean, we've been going through this, like, the whole Mondani buzz. Like, I think I was laughing. I think the whole podcast was laughing. I mean, because we went through 8 years of Bill de Blasio. We're coming off 4 years of Eric Adams, filled with corruption, filled with scandals. So it just never ends. The train never ends, and New York voters never smarten up. And our politicians just continue to move further and further left, and the corruption just becomes more and more in your face. So it's like, I think that's the problem that we're seeing. The number one issue in New York City is public safety, followed by affordability. And, that's where we hone in on, and where do all those problems stem from? Politics, political. Like, the only reason I'm out here right now and I'm not a captain in the NYPD is because of politics, so, and that's where we delve into on the Finest Unfiltered.
Yeah. All right. I want to start off. You and I talked for a few minutes before, got a chance to understand a little bit more about each other. I want to start off with showing the devil himself. You called him the devil, and I think you're about right. But going back to a time when Bill de Blasio was hawking the French fries and burgers for taking the vaccine, and I just want to remind everybody what this snake or slime ball, who was the head of this greatest city, one of the biggest cities in the world, and this is the guy here. Stand by.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? You're saying I could get these delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this? But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination.
Unbelievable. It makes me so sick to see this guy again.
Dude, honestly, it's like it rehashes old terrible memories, and at that time too, you gotta remember, like, all the businesses are shut down in New York City.
Yeah.
The unvaccinated were demonized, like completely the most marginalized people ever in New York City society. New York City loves to talk about diversity. They love to talk about inclusion. They love to talk about equity, but they had no problem shutting people out of their jobs, out of their livelihood, out of businesses. I couldn't take my children to after school activities. Schools were shut. I mean, prior to that, as this is going on. So, I mean, he went full blown communist. And when businesses were saying, look, I'm going to go under, I'm going to lose my livelihood, I'm going to lose my house. He just said, he came out and he told you exactly who he was. He said, I think you guys need to remember what we're doing here. We're here to redistribute wealth. So, I mean, and that's what the New York Democratic Party is.
Hold on a second. So he actually said that?
He said that out loud. We're here to distribute wealth. So basically, he was looking to shut your business down. Yeah.
What? No, I didn't know that he actually came out with the communist rhetoric saying that we're here to redistribute wealth.
Full blown communist. He always was. And, and then like when you look over to Eric Adams, I mean, I know the right wing media has painted Eric Adams to be some type of hero. He's anything but that. He's a left wing radical nut, just like Bill de Blasio. And Zohran Mamdani's campaign, as much rhetoric as you saw about it all over the world, it was exactly Eric Adams' 2021 campaign. Everything he said. Literally everything, including the government-run grocery stores, which New York City has 6 of them currently.
Is that right?
I'm like,
they're government-run
I
grocery
get
stores.
The whole world's on fire about Zohran Mamdani, but if you only knew what the hell was happening in New York City, you'd be like, wait a minute, maybe we should vote Republican. And not that the Republicans are much better in New York either.
No.
They're closer to progressive Democrats than actually conservative Americans.
Right. I'm going to bring this up here because we were talking about it before we get started here, but let's just hear what Zohran Mamdani has to say.
City. But if you want to pursue your promise to create the single largest deportation force in American history, or your promise to persecute and punish your political enemies, then you will have to get through me to do that here in New York City.
Well, that's the current mayor of New York City. And but you're saying that really this is no different than the last I guess 12 years, 16.
Eric Adams campaigned on that ICE will never cooperate with the NYPD. The NYPD will never cooperate with ICE, and we will give free health care to immigrants, or he was calling them, I forget what he was calling them at that time, the undocumented or whatever at that time, before they became migrants. He was calling them something else at that time. He campaigned on that. He wanted non-citizens to vote in New York City elections. He campaigned on open borders. And Bill de Blasio had put that into effect, where if me as a member of the NYPD, if I cooperated with federal authorities in enforcing federal law, it was actually a misdemeanor on my part. Wow. So, I mean, this isn't anything new. Like what he's saying here, Eric Adams has said. Eric Adams said that Donald Trump's a white supremacist. Eric Adams said that Donald Trump belongs in jail. And so has Bill de Blasio. So has Andrew Cuomo. And so, like, when I look at Zohran Mamdani, I don't see this far left radical socialist. I see him as a traditional New York Democrat, and they're all far left communist socialists and wackos. Like,
funny. Okay, so just a little bit of a background. Do you mind telling your story of living through that time and how you came to? Because you and I talked about this before, but it seems like what you went through during Bill de Blasio and COVID and all of that garbage is what spurred you to start the Finest Unfiltered. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said, I think like the Bible had came alive for me at that time because I'm a New York City kid. I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, mafia controlled neighborhood at the time in the 80s and 90s. I never thought I would be a cop. I got in trouble when I was a kid, but it just so happened that my sister was dating a cop. She wound up marrying him. Great guy, my brother-in-law still till today. And they had signed me up for the police test. And I was like, I had just get the test in the mail, and I'm like, let me go take it. I'll see what happens. I was never a bad kid, but I was a street kid. I grew up in the street. And so I took the test, and next thing I know, 6 months later, I go through everything. They like kind of were okay with my little small criminal history, and they accepted me into the police academy, and it really changed my life, made a man out of me, and really made me open my eyes to the world. And I was always very familiar with the politics of New York City because unfortunately, growing up there, I've seen a lot of horrible things happen. So I was always familiar with the politics of it, but I didn't understand like the policing aspect of it, the crime aspect, and how to really bring crime down. But I did watch New York City transform from a city of crime to the safest big city in the world. I watched it happen in front of my face. I watched parts of Manhattan go from where there were barrels with fire and hookers all around them to it looked like Disneyland, to where you couldn't walk 5 feet without getting into a fist fight, to now you could take the train at 3:00 in the morning and no one's going to bother you. So I watched all that happen. And so I became a cop. I did, I excelled at it. I rose to the rank of sergeant. I loved it. I was at 18 years in my career. I was a lieutenant. And I was doing well. I had no thoughts of ever leaving the department. I thought I would be there until I was an older man. I was getting ready, preparing to take the captain's test, which I would have done high on, like I did on all the other tests, and I would have got promoted. So I was getting ready for all that, and the mandate kicks in. And next thing I know, I go from being 5.0 rated, loved by everybody, my peers, my subordinates, my supervisors, to I'm being deemed a dirty disease spreader because I don't want to take a vaccine for a disease that I already have antibodies for, that after I was infected in the line of duty at the height of the George Floyd riots, I had to go back to work and go before NYPD doctors, and they told me not to take it because I would have an adverse side effect. So I was forced to leave my career and retire 2 years early of a full retirement, even though I never even planned on leaving at 20. So it just, that moment in time, just changed the whole trajectory of my life and my family's life, unfortunately. If you would have asked me 3 years ago where I would be, I would tell you that I'd be in New York City right now, still in the New York City Police Department. As it is, I still own a home in New York City. I'm still very tied to New York City. My family, my friends, all of my relatives are buried throughout all the cemeteries in New York City. It's still, I consider it my home, but my wife, my children, and myself are no longer residents of New York City. We live in Florida.
And so you had mentioned something, and now it just slipped my mind, but in regard to, oh gosh, now I lost it. You were talking about the mandates and how they brought it down. Shoot, now I can't remember what I was gonna ask you about. But going through that process, are you resentful? Did you hate what they did to you and your family? Did the union stand up for you? Did anybody in the department stand up for you, or were you just that leper?
So, New York City is a very diverse city. And at that time, I'm a lieutenant and I'm in a very unique position in the police department. And I was in charge of about 800 people. And you got to remember, it's like the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, right? So really, like, the whole DEI initiative has settled into the police department, and white males, particularly white male Christian males in the New York City Police Department, are literally being phased out. We're being written into policy that, we're a problem in society, white supremacy. Meanwhile, I grew up, I didn't have a pot to piss in, so I don't know what type of, I don't know what type of privilege I had or whatever. I had two parents that loved me. So that's definitely a privilege. I grew up in this country, which is definitely a privilege. But, it was just the height of insanity around that time. And so I'm in charge of about 800 people, and about 100 of them are minority women with just above a minimum wage pay grade, right? They're janitors in New York City Police Department. Most of them live in the projects. They're single mothers. And I'm being told that I have to tell these women that they have to put this in their body if they want to work. And these women are coming to me in droves crying. And, I was a lieutenant, so they call me Lou, right? For short. They were like, Lou, I don't want to put this in my body. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids. And I'm like, I went to my superiors. I was like, listen, I can't do this. I was like, I'm a man. I can't do this. I have sisters. I have a wife. I have 2 daughters. I can't do this. I was like, there's absolutely no way in my conscience that I could do this. I'm like, you tell me that Black Lives Matter, And then here you go, you got these poor women that grew up like how I grew up without a pot to piss in, and they're trying to make their life better, and you're telling me to terminate them, and you're telling me to have them like basically do what Harvey Weinstein did, put this in your body if you want to work. I'm like, this is rape, and I'm not gonna take part in it. So, you know, I'm pretty tough. So a lot of the things that happened to me, I don't resent because I was able to withstand it. I resent that my kids were segregated. I resent that I wasn't able to go to restaurants. I was able to go out in a riot in New York City. I was able to run towards bullets flying at me, but I wasn't good enough to sit down in a restaurant because I was a dirty leper. But overall, what I really resented is the fact that everything that I was ever raised to believe, everything that I was ever taught in my religion, I'm a Roman Catholic, to stand up for the truth, to stand up for those that are weaker than us. I watched my church. I watched all of my faith leaders, and I watched all the men that I worked with that I had respect for. I watched them cower before that coward that you just saw there trying to ruin you. Because that's what if you watch news interview after news interview, he was literally like he had a real evil spirit inside of him, and he was like, they're gonna take it. You just take their job, you just take their healthcare. They're gonna have no choice. They're gonna take it. And he was smiling. You know, he's a real sick individual. And so, you know, Eric Adams on the campaign trail had teetered, and he's like, oh, you know, I'm not gonna do that. Blah blah blah. Anyway, comes in. He goes full force and he starts terminating people.
Right.
So, you know, so like it was a real bad time. I'm resentful of how my country still till this moment in time has not corrected this wrong. I'm resentful that New York City still hasn't corrected this grave injustice. This was the gravest injustice towards the United States Constitution that I have ever seen, towards religious freedom. And it was Christians that were overwhelmingly subject to have their back against the wall with their jobs. Other people were granted religious accommodations depending on their faith, their gender, their sexual preference. But male Christians, they were, you know, and we're still being persecuted in America. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the hypocrisy, you've already talked about it, but the hypocrisy was outstandingly glaring. Was like you said, Black Lives Matter. You can stand in front of bullets, but you can't go into a restaurant unless. Do you remember the insanity of if you were wearing a mask when you stood up, you were okay, but when you sat down, you took the mask off and it was okay?
Yeah, and you know what's even crazy? If I don't know if you guys know, but like in New York, particularly, athletes and performers were exempt from them. So,
is that right?
So athletes could walk around, actors could walk around, hookers could walk around, strippers could walk around. But if you weren't one of those, you were just a working class individual, you were a peasant. You know, and we had the governor of New York running around with no mask on. He's taking pictures with kids in school, forcing them to be masked. You know, and so like the hypocrisy was disgusting to me. You know, it was clearly an elitist attack on the working class Americans, and you saw what all the division that they tried to create amongst working class New Yorkers was about, and Americans and throughout the world. You know.
Yeah, you mentioned a lawsuit, but you also mentioned a character, and I can't remember his name, but he was one of the ones that was controlling or was a part of the mandates or created the mandates. And do you mind telling us that story?
So, I mean, Bill de Blasio is, he puts the mandate into place for New York City. The mandate starts with Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo fires.
Oh, right.
Andrew Cuomo's the governor of New York at the time. He fires nurses first, right? So he goes after nurses at the height of a pandemic when we don't even have enough beds in New York and we don't have enough nurses. He begins to fire nurses a year and a half after they worked throughout an entire pandemic without any PPE, without any type of vaccine or anything. These people risk their lives, and then they're thrown in the trash. Immediately after that, Bill de Blasio goes after the teachers. He goes after the cops, the firefighters, sanitation workers, and the rest. And I believe he did that because he knew the teachers union would go right to bat with him. And traditionally, teaching is a very feminine profession in New York. And so, women are more agreeable. So they went after women knowing that they would cave and knowing that they could get the legal precedent they set. And then they put the mandate into place. He did that in conjunction with Dr. J. Varmer. Dr. J. Varmer was the appointed head of New York City Healthy or New York City Health Department. And Dr. J. Varmer, while he was telling everyone, he just came up with these rules like, oh, stand 6 feet apart, wear a mask when you enter the restaurant, but when you sit down, it's okay to take it off to eat. If you get back up, put the mask on. He put all these rules into place. At the height of him putting all of these rules into place, Steven Crowder, I don't know if you or your audience is familiar with him. He runs a podcast called Louder with Crowder, Mug Club. Yeah. And so years after this, like 2 years after this, he actually puts a female undercover, goes to this doctor, and they start talking about the difference between vaccinated people and unvaccinated people. Right. So Dr. J. Varmer was demonizing the unvaccinated people. So this female undercover was asking him, like, well, what's the difference between a vaccinated person and unvaccinated? Should I not sleep with anyone that's unvaccinated? And he's like, no, there's no difference. If you had the disease or you had the vaccine, there's no difference. So he admits that natural immunity is a whole thing. Then he goes on. He goes on to say that during that time, at the height of the mandate, he was having drug-fueled sex orgies with, they weren't testing or doing any of that. They were just having drug-fueled sex orgies. So he puts all this nonsense down on the masses, but yet, he's an elite, so he doesn't have to do that. You have to stand 6 feet apart, but it's okay for him and his wife to go engage in debauchery.
Oh, my God. I pulled them up here just for our audience here. 1 second.
He's former COVID czar fired from his private sector job after he was caught on hidden camera admitting he attended multiple sex parties during the pandemic in defiance of his own public safety protocols.
Do you think you'd have gotten a hard time if New York City found out that you're having sex parties during COVID?
Dr. J.
What a scumbag.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, it's like a horror movie, it really is. It's like a horror movie, it's like a Quentin Tarantino film. It's really just New York City's just on a whole new level, man. It's really like there's really a demonic spirit that has infected all of the elected officials, all of their appointed cowards like this guy. And then there's a spirit of apathy amongst the good people. So it's just really it's crazy times, man. And you would think after that things would get better, but no, they just continue down the same road of destruction.
Well, sorry, in regard to New York, you had mentioned that where you live, or where you did live in New York City, and where I live, it's very similar. And then the cities, vote this insanity, this Satan worshiping progressives, and then the rural parts of even Alberta, and you said New York State, the vast majority of the people are conservative and really have a Christian faith. I don't know what the problem is. Is it the problem is that we just want to live our lives and we want government to stay out of our way, and so we don't get too involved? Is that why we're in this mess, do you think?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think one, it's I think civics really isn't lauded in school. I think that we don't understand. Most people don't understand the political process, and they are busy raising their family and being good Americans, right? The other problem I think is that a lot of people rely on the media for their news, and if we're talking in American news, I don't know how it is in Canada, but it's literally fake news. I don't get you can name any outlet you want to me. They are fake news. They push narratives. They do not tell the truth at all whatsoever. So when people are relying on that they're being misled. They're being led to the slaughter because they don't understand what's happening. They don't understand the candidates. They don't understand who's in charge of them. They don't understand the election process. They don't understand how bills are passed. And there is a huge spirit of apathy amongst the conservative people, like, because, you know, there's a great lie that your vote doesn't count in New York. That's right. That's what we're told in New York City. Your vote doesn't count. And people believe that. And so they stay home. They don't go to the polls. They don't get involved. I don't care. It's this, it's that. And really, maybe you don't care for you because maybe you're good. But if you cared about your children, if you cared about the future of this country, if you cared about the future of this world, you'd get involved in politics. Because, you know, a lesson that I learned with staying silent. Now, I always watch politics, but I never weighed in on it. I didn't start advocating to my elected officials until it was too late for me. Because what I learned is, you either do politics or politics is going to do you. And I had to do politics after it did me, you know? And so that's basically what happened.
That's a great way to look at it. So you just basically answered the question I was going to ask you. So was it after this COVID debacle? I mean, was that really that woke you up to, you need to pay attention to politics? Because obviously you were in it.
It didn't wake me up. I mean, I've been watching politics since I'm 8 years old. But I always kept my mouth shut. You know, I talked at my dinner table, not out in public. Right. You know, and so like it woke up, it woke my voice up.
Yeah. The beast has been awoken.
Yeah. All the things that I would say in the locker room, all the stuff that I would tell my guys, all the stuff that I tell my children and my friends. Now I'm doing it publicly. Now I'm saying exactly how I feel, and I'm using my name and I'm using my face, and I don't care who likes it, and I don't care who likes it and who doesn't like it. And it's been effective. I mean, I've had every mayoral candidate on the show, including Zohran Mamdani. And I don't hold any punches because I'm a God-fearing person. I'm a respectful person. I don't hold hate in my heart for anybody, but I'm going to tell you how I feel. You're allowed to tell me how you feel, and that's fine. But the greatest form of love to me is for you to tell me the truth. If you tell me, John, I don't like you, I respect you. You know what I mean? John, I don't agree with you at all. I respect you. You know, that's the ultimate form of love. That's the greatest love we could show each other, is to be honest with each other. And I was always like that. I just didn't do it publicly, but now I do.
Sure. Now we have to, I think. John, if it's okay with you, I want to get your opinion on something else that I brought up to you before. So I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to play this out, and then I want to have you tell me what your thoughts are. And obviously, this has been blowing up on the internet. I think it started the day before, when we had that group of Congress members that stood up and said that they, you know what? I think I'll let this play out because it'll probably explain a lot.
This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress, who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution, are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos, and it could incite violence, and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command.
Well, I think I have an idea how you'd feel about that, but what are your thoughts on what's going on with Trump and this message that he put out to these Congress members? Because go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think it's much bigger than just this issue right here.
Yeah.
I think as citizens of all of our states, we have a ultimate duty, and that's to keep our politicians afraid. Now, am I saying to go get pitchforks and hang them by the nearest tree? No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that they need to be held accountable to the same laws that we're accountable.
Right.
So if we have sitting members of Congress, and I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, I don't care if I like you or you don't, and you're committing treasonous acts, well, guess what? If I'm going to hang, you should hang, right?
Mhm.
If I'm going to go to jail for 30 years, you should go to jail for 30 years. If we have, and we do have members on both sides of Congress that have more of an affinity for other countries than our own. Now, I don't care if there are allies like Canada or Israel or anything else. If you're divulging secrets to other nations away from your own nation, you're a traitor and you should hang as such. So I fully support the president's message, but I support that he should have his Department of Justice do that blindly, not be a weaponized, politically altered, it's okay for the Republicans to do it, it's not okay for the Democrats to do it. What I'm saying is that all politicians should be as afraid as the common man. If you're going to break the law, you're going to be held accountable. And what we're seeing worldwide is there's an elitist mindset that elites and our political class are not held accountable to those laws. And it's our duty to make sure that they are.
Yeah, I agree. The same thing that the politicians in general, and we'll use the United States as a good example of that. It really feels like one party, and they're dirty on both sides. It doesn't really matter. That's what I've seen in the years that I've been watching politics. And Canada, it's so blatant that it's just one party, and it's like WWF, is that they're playing one side. I'm the baddie today, and then you're the baddie tomorrow, and then we'll go at it and we'll pretend. But this is where we're at here in our province, dealing with our issues. And I told you this before we started, is that we're in the process of becoming an independent nation. We need to hold our politicians accountable, and it doesn't matter which party you are on, whether it's Republican, Democrat, liberal, or conservative. They need to know who's in charge. And it hasn't been we the people that have been in charge up until this point. I mean, you guys have been around for 250 years, and at one point it was we the people that I think were running the show. It's certainly not we the people today. So I hope that we can get back to that.
Again, like the mainstream media is a major driver of that factor, and like, again, keeping people out of the loop in politics, not understanding how that works, has led to that. Where if you watched what happened around the Mamdani election, you could see that it's literally a uniparty, and you could see that the mainstream media controls narratives.
Right.
Andrew Cuomo was the worst governor New York ever had. He was the most radical governor New York ever had. He was thrown he had to resign over numerous sex scandals. We had over 18,000 seniors that died as a result of his policies. Thousands of others died as a result of his insanity during COVID. He's the major driver in why crime is up. No cashless bail, discovery reform, repeal of 50A, all of these pro-criminal anti-police bills that have emasculated the police department and neutered them and empowered criminals. They're all a direct result of Andrew Cuomo. So here comes Zohran Mamdani, and now you have all the Republicans telling you to vote for Andrew Cuomo, including Donald Trump.
Right.
Don't vote for Curtis Lewa. Vote for Curtis Lewa, or vote for Zohran Mamdani. And the whole time I was sitting there and saying, if you vote for Andrew Cuomo or you vote for Eric Adams, you're getting Zohran Mamdani, because their policies are no different. And if you watch the debate stage between Cuomo and Mamdani, there's not one difference.
Right.
But yet, if you look at Fox News or you look at the New York Post, all of these things that are considered traditionally conservative media, they're telling you Andrew Cuomo is the best thing from sliced bread. Meanwhile, 3 years ago, New York City residents wanted to impeach him. They just didn't have a way to do it in New York.
Right.
So it's 100% WWE. And then Mondani gets elected and Cuomo's camp comes out. What do they say? Oh, we never thought we could win. Oh, so
Really?
so you were helping Zohran Mondani win. You
Right.
were taking votes away from Curtis Lewa, and you upended the Republican Party in New York. And then what do we find out? Oh, he's keeping the billionaire heiress, Zionist princess police commissioner Jessica Tisch for the NYPD. Right? She's an heir to a billionaire fortune. Right? Never a cop, but she's in charge of the New York City Police Department. He's keeping her, but we're told he's a radical jihadist, communist. And it's like, wait a minute. And then Governor Kathy Hochul comes out and says, oh, well, Mondani and Tisch have been meeting all summer.
Right.
And so it really is WWE.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. You all wrestle out in public, and then you go back in the dressing room, and everybody's friends.
And you share a beer. Absolutely. Yeah. So what is with Kathy Hochul? God damn it, John. What are the chances of our success as parents of children? And we want to pass on. Like there's nothing more important to me, and I'm sure to you as well, is to make sure that we have got this country, your country, my country, settled, so our kids have a place to live and to prosper and to grow. You have any thoughts? Like, how do we solve this?
We get involved in the political process.
Yeah.
We hold our politicians' feet to the fire, all of them. It's funny, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that they'll call me a Marxist, or they'll call me the far right, and they call me everything because I call everybody out and they don't like it. Right? So whoever you're calling out, they call you the opposite, right? Like if I'm going after the DSA one day, they say I'm far right. If I'm going after a corrupt Republican, he says I'm a Marxist. Like, and ultimately I'm an American. That's what I am. I'm an American. I'm someone with integrity. I'm someone that believes that our elected representatives serve us.
Yeah.
We don't serve them. They're not royalty. We don't have kings in America. You don't have kings in Canada. And I don't know that we can make everything right in our lifetime, but as long as I'm here, I'm going to try to, and I'm going to try to educate my peers, and I'm going to try to educate the youth as much as I can, because I think that's what's been lost. I can't speak for Canada, but I think that's been lost in New York City, in America, in New York State. And I think it's the civics and the political aspect of it. And like I said, nobody wants to talk politics. Nobody wants to do politics, but guess what? It's going to do you. So
John, here's the thing that I've been talking about with on my show and with anybody that will listen is, I don't know how you were brought up. You gave me a little bit of a glimpse into that, but in Canada, we're known as being polite. One of the things that we were brought up to, and we were told, is that it's not polite to have conversations about politics or religion basically at the table, right? And so you really didn't talk about politics. I think that was engineered so that we chose not to have those hard conversations, that you actually deal with the struggles, and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we take care of and no civics is taught in our schooling. I don't know about New York City or New York State, but they don't talk about civics, not at all. I mean, it's the last thing that we want to talk about, and it's we're put into a state of just being good enough. Like in Canada, it was always like, it's a good place. We're not really in control, but you know what? They let us do our thing, so we'll just continue to do it. So we became asleep. I think that was our problem. Do you have something similar, that you experienced as well?
That you hit the nail on the head. It's the spirit of apathy, right? We were always told that as well. I think for me, the thing that, like, New York City is such a diverse environment. So I'm like, if I'm not talking politics or religion with my friends who have different political ideologies than me, and were brought up differently than me, and raised different than me, and believe in different things than me, what the hell am I talking about with them?
Right. Like,
and so, like, it's not polite. It's actually the opposite. If you're not discussing these things with people, do you really care about them?
Right.
It's like, oh no, I'm better than you. You wouldn't understand. I'm not going to talk to you about my religion because you wouldn't understand it. I'm not going to talk to you about my political beliefs because I'm better than you, you know?
Right.
And so that's the spirit of apathy that we're taught. Oh, don't get involved in that. Don't, you know, people don't want to hear that. And I'm not saying to be in everybody's face, you know, but like when things come up, things come up. When things arise at work, things arise at work. You know, you didn't start that conversation. When they're telling you that your kid has to go to a drag queen story hour at 3 years old, no, absolutely not. No, sorry. That's child endangerment. I lock people up for doing that. Like you're not doing that. Why aren't you getting locked? I'm going to file a criminal complaint report against you, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, that's what they want. They want us to be subservient. They want us to be obedient. They want us to be polite, and we could be polite and we could be civil and we could be peaceful. But the last thing we should be is silent.
Yeah.
And the last thing we should do is not express our opinions and not weigh in and not get involved in politics and not speak politics and not speak our faith. So it's honestly, in my faith, it's the ultimate sin. You're disavowing your savior. You're letting your faith get trampled on.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you know, I don't know what faith you are. I'm a Roman Catholic. I mean, if you look in the Bible, who goes first? It's not the rapists. It's not the murderers. It's the cowards. Why? Because they don't exist without you.
Right.
They don't exist. They don't stand a chance in society without you. You help them flourish. You're worse than them. Who's worse? You know, I've been saying now, I'm watching this whole Jeffrey Epstein case come down. And who's worse? The pedophiles or the people protecting the pedophiles? I'm going to go with the people protecting the pedophiles.
Yeah.
Because you actually have a chance to stop it, and you have a chance to hold these people accountable, and you're not.
Right. It's sick what's going on there, man, with this whole Epstein. And it was going to come out 2 days ago, and then they all of a sudden have a new case. Hey, I don't want to get into that because I wanted to ask you, on the street, New York, the cops. I mean, this is an honorable job, and it's a hard job, and it's important to our law and order and to our civility, right? As people, we expect law and order, and it's turned on its head today. So what is the morale? What is the feeling on the street with your coworkers that you used to work with? What is the sense of feeling? I know that you said that this has been a long time, like Zoran Mandami is really not changing anything. It's the same thing after Bill de Blasio and Cuomo and Eric Adams, and now it's Zoran Mandami. But are the guys done? Have they given up? Or are they just doing their best and keeping their head down and not saying anything? What?
Morale's at an all-time low. I mean, people are fleeing in droves, experienced cops. You've had more people retire early, or resign. And all three of those categories under Eric Adams, more of them retire on all of those three of those categories than any other time in history. So you have new people coming in, they don't stay. You have guys in the middle of their career, they don't stay. And you have experienced guys that could go longer and they don't stay. NYPD is currently losing 300 plus officers a month. They say that they're about 34,000. There's absolutely no way in hell they're at 34,000. That's a complete bold-faced lie. They're probably closer to 20-something thousand, and the job beginning to implode. And now they're bringing over a lot of immigrants that have no business in policing. They're putting in traffic agents in their mid-30s, real docile, real unathletic, people that just have no business in policing, really easy targets. And, they don't understand our laws. They don't speak our language too well. They're out of shape. They're unqualified, or they're bringing in like legit criminals. Now I said, I know I had a criminal history when I said that, but it was minor, right? Like I'm talking about people with like legit criminal histories. They're bringing in people with psychological issues. They're bringing in, and they're not even able to retain them. And they're paying more money than they ever paid ever. And anyone that knows New York, policing was never a profession you're going to go into and get rich. Now you could actually go in there and make a really decent living, and people still aren't staying. So that everything that's happening, it doesn't matter. They're telling you everyone's leaving because of Mondani. They were leaving already. They, they were going to continue to leave if Andrew Cuomo became the mayor. They were going to continue to leave if Eric Adams became the mayor. There was only one hope we had, which was Curtis Sliwa, who wanted to restore morale, and he really wanted to push the, all of the legislation that has been brought in, and all of the really corrupt individuals that have been running the New York City Police Department, get them out, and then the civilian oversight clean that up to make them an apolitical organization instead of an organization who's just seeking to hurt cops, not going after the truth. And that would have done a lot to bring back morale, but none of that's happening. So yeah, I mean, I honestly think that the police department it's on its last legs, honestly, because you go to New York, you want to file a criminal report, good luck to you. Most people aren't going to help you. Most people, they're not going to take reports. If they do take the report, the chances of it getting investigated aren't that good.
Right.
But yeah, if you get killed, and and it makes the news, then yeah, it'll be a big what to do. But if you just get robbed, or you just get beat up, or you just get spit on, or you just get pushed down on the train, but the train doesn't actually run you over, good luck to you, because good luck getting a report or getting anyone that cares. And that's kind of what's happening. There's still a lot of good people in the New York City Police Department, but they're being outweighed by the bad apples that are running it, and they're being outweighed by people who have no business being New York City police officers.
Well, I can tell you what we're experiencing here in Canada is very similar. Just in my city alone, I mean, we're 1.5 million people, and it's hollowed out. The good cops have left. The close to retirement have retired because they didn't want to. We had a completely Marxist mayor that we just got rid of. I don't know if the next one is any better, but I hope that he's at least swayable, that we can actually control him to a certain extent, but we'll see. But I mean, really what's left over is some of the people that come in aren't great cops, and they are not going to be look the other way when it's just jaywalking or some silly little thing, but they're gonna crack down on you, especially for things that you never would have done before. I see that happening, and it's really it's gonna get tense, I would say.
Well, the thing with policing is, like in New York, it's like traditionally the kids that became cops grew up in New York City, right? So they understood the cultures, they understood the different communities, they knew who the bad guy was, they knew who the good guy was, they knew who the business owner is. Now you're bringing in people from all over the world who don't understand any of that.
Right.
And the criminal element, they can't even see it because they don't understand the crime in New York City. So the bad guy is, the woman on her cell phone, the woman who drove 5 miles an hour, who's a productive member of society and pays all her taxes and really doesn't break the law. Maybe she was running late to get her kids or whatever it was, and so like the people that actually pay all the taxes, the people that actually follow the law are becoming the bad guy. Why? Because they're the easy target, right? They're the easy target. And that's just what's happening throughout the entire world with policing, especially when you bring in people that don't understand our laws, don't understand our culture, don't understand our language, and really have different values than we do. Yeah. And so like, that's what they're doing. They're upending the New York City Police Department and replacing good New Yorkers who grew up there, like myself, who lived there, who cared about their community, and they're replacing it with people that had just moved there a year ago and then are in their 30s and don't understand anything about it. How good of a cop could they be? They're not going to be a good cop.
Let's finish off with, if you don't mind, replying to the reason that I reached out to you was the social workers that are going to replace you guys for responding to emergencies. I know that you said in one of the podcasts that I watched that this is nothing new, but it's certainly not working, and it's not going to work moving forward. What are your thoughts in regard to sending out a social worker for emergency calls?
So one, it's a pipe dream. We always in New York, we had what's called a homeless outreach unit, where we had like psychologists and social workers and people from nonprofits that would go out with cops, and they would go out and they would offer services to homeless people on the streets of New York, right? And go down in the subway. So we had that. Bill de Blasio got rid of it. Worked great. It was a good tool. That's why you didn't see a lot of homeless encampments in New York City at the time.
I see.
Bill de Blasio said, no, let's leave these people to die on New York City streets. So we did that. So now Zohran Mamdani's kind of saying that he wants social workers. And by the way, he did just back off of this. So, but he's saying that he wants social workers to respond to mentally ill individuals. He wants them to go again, do these homeless sweeps, but without cops. He wants 911 calls for people that are going through emotionally disturbed situations to be screened by the dispatcher and put the onus on the dispatcher to say whether or not an emotionally disturbed situation is going to turn violent and whether or not a police response should happen. Now, he backed off of that 2 days ago. He said, well, obviously we don't know when it's going to be violent, because like what I said in that article is basically like, I don't think he spoke to any dispatchers. I don't think he spoke to any cops. I don't think he spoke to any family members of mentally ill people, because it makes absolutely no sense and it's completely ridiculous. But what he did say is he wants to put in this Department of Community Safety to respond to all these calls. And basically what he's saying is he wants a non-armed civilian police department. And that's, again, something that Bill de Blasio and Eric Adams have been working towards. And Zohran Mamdani is only going to further it. New York City, we have a $180 million violence intervention program right now. And what that is they pay violence interrupters. Who are the violence interrupters? They're criminals from the neighborhood. They say that they're former gang members, but you as a New York City taxpayer, you don't know how they're hired. You don't know how much they make. You don't know their reporting status. I could tell you right now, they weren't subject to the vaccine mandate. And what we're told is wherever they are, crime's down and the program's successful, yet crime continues to rise. And every place that this violence intervention program has began, crime continues to rise. So I don't know how we're deeming it successful. And quarterly, in the most violent area in Brooklyn, we have a no-go zone for 2 blocks. But don't worry, it's only from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at night. I'm sorry. Yeah, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at night. And our controller, who's spending $180 million on this, says that it's kept shootings down. Now, in the same report, he says it kept shooting down. He also says there's no statistics to back any of this stuff up. And we don't know actually what happens with these 911 calls because what they do is they reroute the 911 calls to these violence interventors who are untrained. We don't know how they handle the situation. The crimes aren't being documented. And if there's a shooting or a stabbing, then they need the cops to go. So this is the mentality that is New York. And this is the mentality nationwide in America. LA's doing this. Chicago's doing this. Portland's doing this. They're all doing this. Chicago. And it doesn't work. It's all a grift. But what they're doing is basically they want to upend and change policing, right? They want to reimagine policing, and this is how they're reimagining.
Yeah, I think that I think there's a different word for what they call reimagining policing, but I won't get into that. And I know I want to wrap it up here quickly, but at the same time, I want to ask you if you can finish off, because you mentioned it when you were talking about growing up in New York, is that it went through this period where there was burning barrels and hookers and drugs or whatever, and then it was cleaned up. What was that stage like, and who was that cleaned it all up?
Yeah, so Mayor Rudy Giuliani came in.
Yeah,
and he brought in a couple of police guys that were with him, that were there in the NYPD. And what they did is they started to utilize a broken windows theory of policing. Broken windows theory with 2 professors. They came up with a theory that if you're in a neighborhood where there's broken windows, it's going to lead to more crime. If one window's broken, somebody's going to come by and break the next window. But if you police the minor things, you'll actually stop the larger crimes, right? And so what the theory was behind that is that New York City began to go after minor crimes, right? Drinking in public, smoking marijuana in public, graffiti, not really so much jaywalking, but sometimes jaywalking, and just all of these quality of life issues that you would deal with. And so what they noticed is while they're doing it, it's like, hey, guess what happens when you get the kids off the corner that were drinking. Shootings go down, stabbings go down, assaults go down, robberies go down. And because when you don't police those little things, major crimes happen.
Mhm.
So we did that for about 20 years under Rudy Giuliani, 8 years under Giuliani, 12 years under Mike Bloomberg. We did that for 20 years, and New York City really was the safest big city in America. And then here comes Bill de Blasio, and he says, you know what? We're just going to police the major crimes. But there's absolutely no way to police the major crimes, because what you're doing is you're just going there after a violent crime was committing, and then you're investigating it. So you're watching all of these quality of life issues deteriorate in New York City. And that's been happening through Eric Adams, and I'm sure will further continue under Zohran Mamdani. And what's going to happen, the major crimes are going to continue to rise. But don't worry about it, because the mainstream media won't report it, and the police department are self-reporting only the crimes that they want to, and they're going to tell you crimes down. But when you go to New York, it feels like 1980, 1990 again.
Yeah. John, this has been an amazing chance to get an inside look at you and New York City and New York City Police Department. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with my viewers. I'm just going to share your X profile in case anybody looking for John D. Macari Jr. And your podcast is the finest unfiltered.com. I'm going to quickly show that here as well. Let me see here, right here. Anything else you want to tell us about that we need to know so that we can keep in touch with what you're up to, obviously, and making life better in northern Florida there?
Yeah, sure. If you guys want, check out our YouTube channel at the finest unfiltered. I think we just cracked 50,000 subscribers there. A bunch of shows. I co-host with New York City's most complained cop, Eric Dim, New York's finest retired and unfiltered podcast. We also have the Sal Greco show on there. Sal Greco was a former New York City police officer. He was terminated for being friends with Donald Trump's long-term advisor, Roger Stone, because there was an anti-Republican sentiment at the time. So they fired Sal Greco. So Sal's got a show on there. We also got the executive perspective on there, which is co-hosted by former Inspector Ron Layson and former Chief Rob Lukash. So they give a little different take. They both did over 30 years in the New York City Police Department. And then we have the 10-4 Tavern, which is co-hosted by former NYPD Homicide Lieutenant Thomas Joyce and former ATF Director and former NYPD Homicide Detective Pete Forcelli, who was the whistleblower for Fast and Furious. So the channel's growing. We got a bunch of different shows on there. We always got we always get like the guests on that matter, that have the voices. So yeah, check it out if you could. I appreciate you having on for me. It was it was a good time, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, I want to say thanks very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and your family, and God bless you. Thank you so much for doing what you do, and thanks for putting yourself in the line of fire yesterday and today. I know that you're still in the line of fire. Not necessarily bullets, but definitely crazy, wild, and lunatic socialists that are after you. So thanks for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. If you don't mind sticking around, just I'd love 30 seconds with you after we finish off here. I'm just going to say goodbye to our guests, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. God bless everyone watching. If you're still here, thank you so much. Make sure to share this out. Like I said, we are shadow banned left and right. We need to get this message out. We have so many more amazing people like John coming on, and I keep hoping that you'll get this message out there. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, BitChute, all those other channels, and make sure to share it out there. Get some more eyeballs on this information, and let's wake up our neighbors. All right, let's stay sane together, you guys. Keep your head on a swivel. This is Bruce. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching Unscrew the News. I appreciate your participation in freedom in Canada. Share this information and help others to wake up. God bless.